says it starts with one thing.
Everything here starts on the ground, on offense. It will always start on the ground. That's where it begins, and then we'll go from that. Play action pass can be big for us because our players are good at it. Our quarterback is outstanding at it. Now, our quarterback can sit there in the gun too and dish the ball out, but that's just, man, you want to go deep in the playoffs, you better be able to run the freaking ball.
I'm thinking about our good friend Swagoo. That's like music to his ears. He's lapping that up. But what do you make of hearing that from Dan Campbell, D-Wood?
He's absolutely right. I mean, when you look at the Detroit Lions last year, their main problem was they weren't able to capture the line of scrimmage. Not like prior years. That was one of the things that really set them apart was their ability to dominate the line of scrimmage. They couldn't do that. Then they go out in the draft. They go get Blake Miller, the tackle out of Clemson. Obviously, they been fortifying the interior of the offensive line, all because they want to get back to what they do best: run the football, play action pass. The quarterback isn't mobile; he's a statue in the pocket. So you got to be able to run to set up that play action pass. That's when the Lions are at their best.
Yeah, Jeff, when you look at the Lions bringing in new OC Drew Petzing, he comes from Arizona. How important was this hire for Detroit?
Very important, just from the comfortability with Jared Goff, and I think that he really feels that now. But I just point out too that the Lions are now playing from an edge again, and it almost felt like they needed to have that back. All we talk about this offseason is in that division, rightfully so to a degree, is the Packers and the Bears. Well, the Lions are still sitting there saying that, hey guys, we're ready to roll, and I think that they are a little bit forgotten at times. But I think that this comfort factor between Jared Goff and his offensive coordinator, I think is going to be a really big help.
Yeah. I'm so excited to talk about this because I knew I was making a Lions clip, and I've been making Lions clips, and I've been, looking at a lot of data, and it's been really throwing me off because I look at what this team has been able to overcome, how great Jared Goff has played despite a terrible O-line. An inconsistent run game with an incredibly low success rate, and yet they're still technically in a top offense in the NFL. And I was just like, it was bugging me out until I started to do some more investigation and I started to look into this stuff a little bit more deeply. And so I have all my stats and I have all my things set up, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to go make this clip now, and I didn't watch it all. And then Dan Campbell literally says it all starts on the ground, and I'm like, are you kidding me? Like this is literally what I'm about to show you all right now. So it's honestly is pretty perfect. So before I jump into it though, Detroit Lions fans, please do not forget to subscribe and watch the full length of the video. When you guys do that, views go through the roof, subscribers go through the roof. It's not about chasing views, it's not about chasing subscribers, it's about being able to create Detroit Lions content that people genuinely want to watch and discuss, so we can keep having the most unbiased, grounded, honest conversations about the Lions. It makes such a huge difference, and I'd really appreciate it. So yeah, again, Goff and this offense on the surface level played really well. I mean, even if we just look at points per game, they were ranked 4th. And you're just like, well, see, it's always the defense. The defense is the problem. But then we know the O-line was a mess. Obviously Dan Campbell took over play calling, had to move on from the original play caller, and then obviously now hired someone else. So it's like obviously the offense wasn't quite what it was before, but still had a lot of production. And I pointed this out last season, where it was like, okay, you've definitely been able to regain your ability to blow some teams up and really be dominant, but against the better defenses and against the better defensive coordinators especially, it's like you're not able to really win that chess matchup. And that really was highlighted to me against the Kansas City Chiefs. And as I also kept saying, is that this offense was so dependent on 4th down conversions that it was like they were no longer cherries on top. It was the foundation. If you convert the 4th downs, you're going to win. If you don't, you're going to lose and potentially even get rocked. And it was just like you were just too dependent on that, right? It wasn't like, hey, we're just going to be aggressive. It was no, we don't have a choice. If we don't get this, we're going to lose. And it just became too much. And so, I looked at all of the great defenses that the Lions faced. And so, it was 7 games that they played top defenses in the NFL. And it's interesting because again, Jared Goff really good. 65.5%. And of course, this is all a little bit of a decrease of his normal stats because you're playing the hardest defenses. And so, there's going to be some sort of decline, but still really solid play. 65.5% completion percentage, 1,700 yards. Again, this is in 7 games. 12 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. But and I'm like also see this cause I'm like, oh, look his offensive rating is like this is not good, but yet it's like decent touchdown interception ratio, decent completion percentage. It's like, what's the story here? And it was like under pressure really, really bad. Technically, one of the worst quarterbacks. And then even against the blitz. And so again, against the blitz, it doesn't mean that the pressure is always necessarily there, but the defense is blitzing and you're able to like either, recognize it, pick it up, pre-snap reads or whatever it may be, Jared Goff is awesome at, but against the higher level defenses, nowhere near as much. And he was pressured 102 times in the 7 games, 21 sacks. So, again, all of that accumulation, but still, you're still like, well, wait a second, he was still 2 touchdown. Like, why did they not have more success? Why were they still kind of struggling? And it's like, boom. The run game against the best defenses, Jahmyr Gibbs 0 touchdowns, David Montgomery 3 touchdowns, 1 fumble, 2 fumbles, or 3 fumbles. I don't know how many of those were, not recovered or, picked up by the defense, but 3 yards per carry for Jahmyr Gibbs and 3.6 yards per carry for Montgomery. 295 yards for Gibbs, 205. And so, that turned out to be 71 yards per game. Now, again, to put this in a little bit of context, that was a total 500 yards. Now, these other running backs, they were just playing all different teams, right? Some great, some bad. This is just linked up on, the specific weeks that were played. But you could see Derrick Henry still 889 yards, 8 touchdowns. Bijan Robinson, 774 yards, 6 touchdowns. Like, it was such a stark decline. Even if we just go yards per attempt, let me get rid of some of the guys that didn't really run the ball a lot. 6.5, 6, 5.9, 5.4, 5.1, 3, 4, 5.2, 5.1, 5, 4. It's such a massive drop-off. Saquon Barkley in 6 games, cause one of them was a bye, with one of the weeks that I selected, had 403 yards and 3.7 yards per carry. And he was struggling all year. And that old line was struggling all year. And yet still essentially, comparable numbers. And so it's like, that's why you see Dan Camp being like, it all starts on the ground. It all starts on the ground. It all starts on the ground. Even if we take a game, which again, I think this game always has a misleading score, 30-17, Kansas City Chiefs versus Detroit Lions, it's like 5 rushing first downs. 0 for 2 on 4th down. Like, this is what I'm talking about. And if they converted a couple of those, it's like that completely swung the game over. But the Kansas City Chiefs had 8 rushing first downs. No one's bragging about how great that run game was. Against the Eagles, 21 carries, 74 yards, 3.5 yards per carry, 0 touchdowns. And they had 3 rushing first downs. It's a brutal existence. And right on cue, 0 for 5 on 4th. 0 for 5 on 4th down. And make no mistake about it. Like, these were close games. Eagles-Lions game, that was just a weird game start to finish. But you can see 3-0, 3-0, 3-0, second quarter, 3-0, 3-0, 3-0, 6-0, 6-6, 13-6, 13-6, 13-6, 13 right. Like, this is a close, tight game. I mean, against the Lions and the Chiefs, it was 3-0, 3-6, 10-6, you got the lead now, then 13, 10 I'm keep switching around. I'll just keep saying the high score. 13-10, down by 3, then 20-10, but then 20-17 in the to start the fourth essentially, 4 minutes into the fourth, 20-17. Right? And again, obviously we can see some of the defensive liability, defensive issues as well. But you could see that it's just like nothing to really help you out here. So that's why my eyes lit up when Dan Campbell was really emphasizing the run. And yeah, I mean it is interesting to see that they actually had like on the surface level a decent running attack, especially like when you just look at the bottom line numbers and the bottom line stats, but when you look a lot closer you start to see a bit of a clearer picture, a significantly clearer picture, honestly. And then especially when you want to zoom in on like the actual more difficult defense, the difficult games, and then just kind of look at how some of those games unfolded and where you stagnated and what really held you back. So in a lot of ways if they just kind of get some sort of balance there, like this offense was already great and already really protected you against any of those random catch games against not so great team, right? Like though the Lions have always been the perfect representation of, I always use them as an example because it's just like you'll absolutely destroy some of the lower level teams and I'm like, that's awesome and that's great, but it's like I expect that from you. Like there's nothing to learn here. Like you have the ability to be so dominant offensively against these inferior opponents that it's just like it doesn't matter. I don't care if you hang like 80 points. Like it's cool, but it just doesn't mean anything because it's just you've graduated from that. You've been doing this for years now, right? And it's just like you that you really got to lock in against the better defensive opponents more than anything, as since losing Ben Johnson having to look in and see kind of where you stand with all of that. And don't get too obsessed with like a random outlier game or random game where just everything is firing on all cylinders. It's really kind of look for the patterns. And the pattern is very struggle to run the ball against great defenses. Just fundamentally struggled the ball, struggled to run the ball, struggled to get into the end zone. And being able to just even get first downs, be able to set you up. Of course still had some explosive runs, still had, some meaningful moments, but with no degree of reliability. And it's just like if you can just get some balance there. Get some balance there. That puts you into it in a better position to beat the Chiefs. Beat the Eagles. And it's like you do that. And it's like you're in the playoffs right there. You would have had 11 wins. Right? Am I doing our math right? Doing math when you're recording and knowing that you're about to have people watch it is like it's crazy. You start to guess like wait, 1 + 1 is definitely 2, right? Like. It's 1 + 1, right? 1 + 1. 1 + 1 is 2, right? Definitely 2, right? And it's just like yeah. I mean just even little things like that. And like those were games that you could have won. Though, those were games. And that's why it's like watching that Chiefs game. I just remember having such clarity in that moment around this team. And it was just like it was so clear to me of what was going on, especially with the fourth down, right? And it's just like I just took those two games as examples. And I didn't even try to find those two games to like try to fit my narrative. I was just like here's these two games and it was perfect, I mean like it was perfect. It was just like oh yeah well again, struggled to run, couldn't get first downs, rushing first downs, and couldn't convert on fourth, lost the game. Lost the game, weird scores, misleading scores almost. I'm just like there you go, boom, done. And it's just like that's what you're trying to solve. That's what you're trying, so it's not also just oh we just need a better old liner. Oh we just need a better play caller. So don't get me wrong, those things are going to influence that, of course, like no doubt about it, but you know, there's just from my viewpoint just a little bit more than meets the eye, so. Those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about the Detroit Lions? What do they have to do to get back to being that dominant? Really scary team to face. I mean, like, that's the thing. It's like the Lions and I'm so sick of that thing where I forget who said this, but he was like, oh, you know, the Lions are back to playing with an edge. It's like it's not about that. It was never about that with the Lions. Like, I love their edge, I love their intensity, I love their aggressiveness. I do, I love all that, but it's like that's not why they're going to win the Super Bowl. Like, it just sounds nice to say, oh, they got an edge. Oh, they play with a chip on their shoulder. Great. You had a chip on your shoulder against the Eagles and against the Chiefs. You just weren't good enough. Nothing to do with your edge, right? So I'm like, it's like I hate that narrative that kind of keeps getting pushed there. It's more than that. It's more than just like having an edge and being tough. So it's like all that stuff is great. All that stuff keeps you locked in and dialed in. It's like, but if you can't convert a first down, if you can't, you know, if you have to constantly rely on converting fourth downs, if you can't run the ball, I don't care how much of an edge you have, right? I don't care what type of chip is on your shoulder. It's just like you've graduated from that. You've graduated from that. It's not about playing with an edge or playing with a chip on your shoulder. So, let me hear your thoughts. I read every single comment. Whether why. Oh, you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get into some discussions. Let's get into some fights. Whoa. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We're building an amazing community here and I absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all generally feel connected to. Something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. It really does help visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.